Yes, sir. It's done. We can begin.
All right. So, when we talk about the Praman Shastra, in the broader terms, in the research philosophy, we have two key concepts or two aspects of epistemology and the ontology. So, epistemology takes care of the theory of knowledge. And when we talk about the ways of knowing, in simple terms, this is the Praman Shastra talks about the ways of knowing, how to know. So, as we discussed yesterday also, that who are we, who am I? So, we have three components, that is the physical body, the mental body, and the Atma. So, these Praman Shastra or the ways of knowing are connected to it in a very simple way. Like first, the Praman, which is called as the Pratyaksh Praman or the observation that we call in English. So we have five sense organs in Hindi, which are called in Sanskrit. They are called as Jnanendriya or the sense organs. So these five sense organs like nose, the tongue, the eyes, the ears, and the skin. So we do observation with the help of these three or these five sense organs that captures the part of the direct observation. However, you would realize that whenever we are focusing on something, that is, if we our eyes may be seeing it, but unless and until our focus is there, our man or the manas is attached to it, the knowledge cannot happen. I may be listening to many things, I may be hearing to many things, but not listening attentively, so that knowledge doesn't happen. So, in this observation, it is necessary that we have the manas attached to it, otherwise, the knowledge will not happen. So, that is one prerequisite, that with each sense organ, our man should be attached. And second part of the pratyaksh is the manas pratyaksh, that is the part which sometimes talks about the mental aspect of those five senses. So in Sanskrit, it is called as Ubhay Indri. That is many times in English we call as sixth sense. So that also helps in the knowledge happening. And you might have heard the story of Ramanujan, the great mathematician from our country. So, in many studies on him and biographical notes, it is said that there is one movie also on him, that The Man Who Knew Infinity. So, whenever he used to do maths, he came up with more than 3,000 theorems, around 4,000 theorems are there, which the mathematicians today are still deciphering it. And whenever he was asked about the source of those things, and you might recall his interactions with Dr. J.L. Hardy at that time, the great mathematician. So he would ask for proofs and theorems, and Ramanujan many times said that in my dream, Devi Ma appeared and gave me this theorem. So similar experiences are not just of the uh, Bharati researchers or the Indian researchers. Kekule in chemistry, the structure of benzene. It is said that when he was pondering over this, what could be the structure of benzene. So in a dream, he saw that a snake was eating its own tail. And from there, he got an idea that benzene structure could be this. I also know one researcher, my colleague, she was 1 year senior to me. She was in the organization behavior research. So she used to say that I was so much involved in the research that in my dream I used to interact with my guide, and in morning I used to pen down those ideas which I saw in the discussion, and that used to play an important role in my research. So she was working on positive psychology. So this this is just a hint of what Manas Pratyaksh can do. Very interesting uh, way Professor Subhash Sharma has written about it in his book on Western Windows, of which I've mentioned yesterday also. He called it Mind Walk. Under the theme of tools of creativity, he talked about mind walk and how we can channelize the infinite energy that our mind has to develop new knowledge. So this is I can go on about it. It will take much time. So I'm just taking stopping it here about the pratyaksh part. The second praman, that is the anuman praman, and sometimes the upman praman, they are connected to each other. So anuman is about the inferential logic, and upman is the analogy or the metaphorical part. So it is understood that our sense organs have certain limitations. We can see up to certain distance through our eyes. We can see things of certain resolution through our eyes, smell, and so on. So our physical limitations are there, and sometimes because of which it is virtually impossible to do the direct observation of the phenomena that we want to do research. So we use the inferential logic, just like we do in quantitative methods also. There is an inferential statistics. So wherein we understand the phenomena through its causal analysis, root cause analysis, cause effect analysis, and that is the part of Anuman Praman. In the Upman Praman, or the analogy and metaphor, I talked about it yesterday, that there are certain phenomena wherein the observation is also not possible and the inferential part is also not possible. Then we resort to the third option, that is the drawing through analogies or metaphors to understand the phenomena. Sometimes the person who wants to know that phenomena may not be in the capacity to handle that level of knowledge, or if he or she is capable, but the phenomena is beyond those ideas. So, for example, suppose a child of a very young age, say 2 or 3 or 4 year of age, he or she asks about the how a plane flies. Now, I cannot go and tell him the concepts of aerodynamics, of the fluid mechanics, or the motion or the momentum. So what I would do is take any object in my hand and I would mention him that just say I would take a toy plane. It moves a very fast speed and then takes off. So that is an example of analogy. You can go depth about it, uh, and there is no limit of this Upman Praman. So it is very wonderful way of creating knowledge. And the fourth part, the Shabda Praman or the verbal testimony. So yesterday also there was question by Anindita ji. So it was very important that is it related to the lexicography. So the Shabda Praman is when the person or Rishi, Muni, or any person is able to purify his or her senses and the manas and the chitta, that whatever he or she observes, he or she is able to reproduce it as is 100%, because most of us we cannot recall even what we did today whole day. So for example, say Ved Vyas, he compiled what was happening on the battlefield in Kurukshetra. So Ved Vyas ji could reproduce that knowledge as is, or some discussions as we see in various Puranas, Ityas, and Ramayana, Mahabharata. We see a lot of information or knowledge which is heard or listened or from somewhere, some sources, and those are produced as is without interpretation, without distortion. So those words are called as Aptavachan or the verbal testimony. and that is the part of Shabda Bhavan. So these are four components. I think not giving much time to it. More than that, we can have some separate discussion on this. It would take more time. So
Yes, I think so. This explanation was beautiful, wonderful. You were able to explain to us in a very elaborate way in a short time, and I think it helps all of us.
all right. So shall we move forward?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So I'll just share my screen. So one thing I wanted to cover with respect to yesterday's discussion was uh, many times you also brought in that Bharat, India, and when we talk about the Indian knowledge systems, there is another word, indigenous, which is also much important for people doing research, whether doing in IKS, VKS, or any research. It is very important because this word in very layman terms translates to Swadeshi in Hindi, but in terms of research, many people have talked about its importance with respect to cultural aspects and contextual aspects. Professor Ashish Pandey, Professor Rajan Gupta, Professor Bhavo, Professor Shardanandra, many people have done research and they have captured this aspect of being culturally and contextually embedded. So culture has many dimensions from language to medicines to religion to child rearing methods, foods, folk art, celebration, jokes, manner, clothing. So many dimensions are there with respect to culture. And in the context, we have time, place, person, and the situation in which the or the setting in which everything is happening. So this culture and context they make the indigenous. Now, when we talk about the indigenous in context of our country, so we see that there is huge diversity from north to south and east to west, and very difficulty is there. Many times things are very difficult to converge. So how we can look for indigenous things from our culture is identifying the common philosophical points from that diversity, which are the roots. I mentioned about it, the intellectual traditions and civilizational experiences. So these are the fundamental points within the diverse domains of our country. And from there, we can identify things for doing the research in the IKS. So I generally follow this tool so that whenever I talk to any person from any part of our country, there is a similarity to connect with him or her. So this is one thing. Now, our plan of the session that we are talking about, the connecting at the deeper emotional level. So how to get connected to the research topic or theme on which we are working. So as I mentioned yesterday also the curiosity and concern. Uh, Yesterday there was one question as to people bully or people ask us question, why are you working on this, etc. So we find a lot of apprehensions amongst many scholars, especially the young scholars. They get uh, different types of responses from the supervisors or colleagues or even from journals and our people in the reviewer team. But there is no dearth of such people. So it's our research, it's your own research, and you can own it with full confidence that this is my research and I will do it. Whatever happens to the world, let it happen. Because most of the researches which have changed the world, which have made a serious impact, those research were discarded by people. There is one very interesting book on social entrepreneurship by Elkington and Hartigan. And the book is titled as the power of unreasonable people. In Hindi, generally we call as pagal ho gaya person. So unless and until people start to call you unreasonable, you are not making any significant difference. It's very simple. Because if your research is going to make any impact, in the initial phase, people will discard it as unreasonable because it will not follow the status quo. It is not norm. So people will call you unreasonable, and which is very natural. And it is the first step of your success when people discard your research outrightly. That is the point wherein you should be very happy. You can see the history. Anyone see Galileo was put into jail for saying that Earth revolves around the sun. So because he was seen as unreasonable. So history is full of examples wherein the original researchers have been called as mad, they have gone mad, or whatever you call it. Similar thing is with social entrepreneurs, social reformers. So if you are on the right path, be ready for it. So how it plays? See, if a person is working on physical sciences, say Earth, space, universe, or in social sciences, person is working on human mind, behavior, wisdom. So there will be no dearth of knowledge. So people will acknowledge, okay, you are working on Earth, you are working on space, you are working on human behavior, wisdom, learning, OB, research. So nobody will question. No, they will say, okay. But what if your research interests are on topics which are like beyond universe? So you want to do research on the theory of multiple universe or parallel universe. Now, from where you will get the data? So it is very exciting time if you want to work on this. So if you want to work on research which goes beyond time, which goes beyond space, you want to do research on phenomena like Atma, Paramatma, or Bhagwan, or spiritual experiences of people. So you will not find many takers of that topic initially, and people would say, "How it is possible? This is not possible." But you can have the opportunity to work, and you can own it. So it's your conviction, your interest, your um, deep interest into that phenomena, which will make the difference. So how to now one component I mentioned in terms of the logical aspect to that how you should own your research. Second way is it's a lighter way, and you can always find it very easy and confirming to the our theme that how to enjoy the research journey. So you will find many relatable stories, movies, biopic on similar things or experiences of researchers or academicians or authors in any field who try to do something like you. So you can always identify those relatable stories and build that confidence, build that inner conviction with you that yes, I can also do. For example, Abdul Kalam ji, many of us know him to be a very sound man, very um, highly polished, highly sophisticated, knowledgeable. But that person also faced various failures in his life. And when he was, he wanted to join Air Force, could not get selected. And then he went to Rishikesh and was about to um, end his life by jumping off from there. And one sadhu told him and said, something bigger is waiting for you. So when we read the stories of people, of great people, at mostly their biographies and autobiographies, mention how vulnerable they were, how the society made them so difficult for them to do research or do any kind of work. And they were like us only at their stage. So this gives you confidence that it is possible for example, if you study the work of biography of Verghese Kurian, the man behind Amul. So when he went to Anand in Gujarat, it's between Baroda and Ahmedabad. So nobody even freely allowed him to rent a home. He had to stay in a garage. And then imagine the mindset. He was there to work for the people of that place, but they themselves were not allowing him to stay. So when you read such stories and incidents, as I talked about Ramanujan, you take any person, so you can relate those stories with them at the original stage, not after they became successful. After success, nobody questions, but during that phase, many people ask. So one thing is on the relatable stories. Before I move forward, just like yesterday, we took a pause to have discussions on the questions. We can uh, discuss that. There are
Yes.
some points.
Yeah. So yeah. So since Sir mentioned Ramanujan, I just shared an article about this mathematical genius. I thought people would be interested in reading it. Also, for anybody who's working at the intersection of culture and communication, and you want to specifically explore a Bharatiya perspective, you can check out Professor Ramesh Rao and Professor Avinash Thombre's book, which is Intercultural Communication, the Indian Context. And you will find a lot of scholarly academic material on the subject. And since Sir mentioned paranormal, so I was just going through some YouTube videos where paranormal experiences of people are dismissed. They're oftentimes dismissed by a mainstream society, but these people came out and they shared their experiences, and their near and dear ones and the world was convinced that they have had these experiences. So I was thinking about what challenges could one face if one was doing research on paranormal experiences. And yeah, in that sense, Ankushji mentioned Stephen Hawking's work. Yeah. So yeah, we can take any questions, quick reflections or comments.
that is for parallel universe. Parallel universe.
Yes, yes, correct, correct. Yeah. Thank you, Ankushji. Yeah. Any other
Ma'am,
reflection, observation?
can I come
Yes,
in?
Ashutosh.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes, sir. Please, please.
डॉक्टर साहब, बहुत बेहतरीन उन्होंने शुरुआत की है इस सारे विषय की। और मेरे सामने दो बातें आई कि जब वो इंडिजिनियस नॉलेज सिस्टम की बात कर रहे थे, तो मुझे लगता है कि अगर हम एक इसका एक शब्द इस्तेमाल करें कि लोक विद्या और शास्त्र विद्या, क्योंकि रिसर्च मेथोडोलॉजी पे एक बात चल रही है, तो शास्त्र विद्या और लोक विद्या में जब हम शास्त्र बेस्ड की बात करते हैं तो उसमें थोड़ा सा मेथोडोलॉजीज डिफरेंट हो जाती हैं। वहाँ बड़ा सेट रूल्स हैं कि आप कैसे किसी विषय को अप्रोच करेंगे, और उसमें जो रिसर्चर है उसके भी कैटेगराइजेशंस हैं। तो आप किस सब्जेक्ट को लेंगे वो उस पर निर्भर करेगा। 4 कैटेगरीज होती हैं, आप सभी जानते होंगे कि आर्थ, अर्थार्थी, जिज्ञासु और ज्ञानी, ये 4 कैटेगरीज हैं रिसर्चर्स की। और मैं समझता हूँ कि अगर डॉक्टर साहब इस विषय पे थोड़ी सी टिप्पणी करें कि लोक विद्या और शास्त्र विद्या, इंडिजिनियस नॉलेज शब्द को छोड़ करके अगर इस दृष्टि से हम रिसर्च मेथोडोलॉजी पे बात करेंगे, तो मुझे लगता है हम मॉडर्न सब्जेक्ट से जो आज के युग के हैं उनके साथ हम आसानी से रिलेट कर पाएंगे। और सेकंड जो है, क्योंकि मेरा थोड़ा सा पर्सपेक्टिव अलग है, मैं थोड़ा सा एग्रेसिव रहता हूँ इन चीज़ों में, कि हमें जो एग्जिस्टिंग कॉलोनाइज सोशल साइंसेज हैं उनको हमें चैलेंज भी करना चाहिए अपनी रिसर्च के थ्रू, और साथ ही साथ अपना जो एक मेथड है और जो हमारे रिजल्ट्स हैं उनको हमें एस्टेब्लिश करने चाहिए। तो इस बात को हम ध्यान में रख के मुझे लगता है कि अगर परस्यू करेंगे तो उसमें एनर्जी भी आएगी, मज़ा भी आएगा, और आपके सामने चुनौती भी होगी, और आपके सामने बहुत सारी डायमेंशंस भी खुलती चली जाएंगी। तो अभी के लिए इतना, उसके बाद फिर आगे की बात करेंगे।
थैंक यू सर। बहुत ही आपके कमेंट्स, ऑब्जर्वेशंस उपयुक्त हैं। They're very relevant and useful. So would you like to respond to Ashutosh sir first? There's a question by Anindita ji. We can take it next.
हाँ आशुतोष जी, बहुत अच्छी बात कही आपने। बिल्कुल उसमें जो हम भारतीय दृष्टिकोण से करें, I am just responding to Ashutosh ji that he has mentioned a very critical point. Uh, and of course, as you mentioned that we need to take head on how the way Western research is being done. And most बहुत अच्छा है, please go ahead with that, and that will be nice. And of course there are various constructs, the way we define it, and the the method with which we should pursue it, it should be very true. And herein, in this session specifically, because many scholars are not oriented towards the Indian knowledge system, they are too new to it. So we are gradually taking steps from one end to the another end. So many people are at different stages in their journey. And so some, as I mentioned yesterday, that some are in the, some can use the postmodernist method, some can directly go to the Sanskrit based work, research work. And so uh, so at different stages we need to work. So बहुत अच्छा है आप उसमें काम कर रहे हैं, बहुत बढ़िया है. So एक और क्वेश्चन है, I think there is one question on that Anindita ji has asked, how to how to define through the Bharatiya knowledge systems, for example, gratefulness is Kritagita. So yes, so Anindita ji, there are mechanisms and which are available in Sanskrit or the our literature also. For example, in Tarka Sangrah, which is an introductory course to Nyaya and Vaisheshik logic, Nyaya and Vaisheshik darshan. So there is a book on Tarka Sangrah by Rishi Annam Bhatt, and therein there are ways defined how to define any concept or phenomena. So you can follow that process. I can share a few papers on how it has been done. There are 2-3 people who have worked on this. And like I mentioned about Dr. Puneet Bildeshji yesterday, he did research on leadership and he followed that method of developing the definitional aspect of it. So you can define that construct. So this is one method. If you if you find that reaching to that stage is slightly difficult, you can take a simpler step also, that the meaning of that word in Sanskrit or Hindi or what, so you can refer to those meaning, those components, and then include in your research. So this is an easier. You can give the reference of that word, from where it appeared, in what context it has appeared, and how it is different from the English word. And so Rajiv Malhotra ji has done a lot of work on that Sanskrit non-translatable.
Non-translatables, yeah.
And there is one more person, I'm missing his name, very renowned person. I will send it to Nidhi ji. She will share it. So they have now, people have realized the importance of Sanskrit and how English moves it out. And you can start from the base itself. There is a field called as etymology, that is the study of origin of words. So some words have the root word with them, which is like Sanskrit and our Bharati languages. They have root word. From that you can deduce the meaning. But certain words are there which are not the root words, and they came up into the public discourse through the time, through the history. So etymology can help you understand how it grew. So you can start from there, go to the concepts, what are the components in that, and then you can go to Sanskrit, go to any expert of Sanskrit grammar, and he or she can make you understand the words and the components associated with it, and based on that you can define. So this is the way you can proceed.
Great, thank you. Is there any other question or reflection that we can take at this moment? Anybody? So we will keep sharing the names and links of some books. You can already see I have put links of 2 books. Please make sure you note these down and put it in your reading or reference list for further use. And I just want to quickly come in. I think I completely agree with what Ashutosh sir was saying. However, I think we also need to recognize that a lot of us are still at the very early juncture of our IKS journey. And because of the way we have been trained in Western social sciences and Western research methodology, we may still for some time end up using that knowledge to start with our IKS research journey. But gradually, once we become familiar with the Bharatiya tradition of research and Bharatiya pedagogy, we can transition into using that at this moment, since there is need for more and more quality research with respect to IKS that has to reach to the global level. It has to be published in journals of repute. So that is why probably following the traditional path for some time helps, but we should be able to challenge, as Sir said, Western social sciences and the concepts that they bring forth. Great, sir. I think we can continue, and in the last 5 minutes, we can take some questions.
All right. So, continuing our discussion, we talked about the relatable stories and movies. Another way of enjoying the research journey is, suppose someone likes to make cartoons or move or drawing or painting or images. So you can express your research journey. You can talk about your researcher's preparation. You can talk about your phenomena through pictures, through pictographic depiction. It may not be published by many journals, etc., but it helps you to articulate in a better way. For example, when I was working on the Gurukul system and I was discussing about the post-colonial aspects or the decolonization, etc. So I created a short story and then used some images in form of a cartoon book or a light book, wherein what someone says, what someone's some hypothetical discussions between people, and I used to create those booklets with me. How it helped me was the frame of mind, the possible questions that could come. How should I answer to the academic community? How should I articulate my ideas? Because at the end, a good research is about good articulation of whatever is in your mind. Many people are not able to articulate it in the right language. And that articulation in the right language requires that it should be in your head. So this different ways, whether it's story, whether it is pictography, a cartoon form, or in presentation form, video form, audio form, story, or music or song, whatever form you like, you can try to engage it at that level. It has another benefit also. Recently, there was an article from Harvard Educator Material that as a teacher, we find that many students are not able to engage in the classroom because of the decreasing attention span, which is the challenge with us also. Many of us are not able to sit for longer hours and do some reading work because of the decreasing attention span. Now, but in case when there are stories with vivid description, it's a lucid way, if there are images, if there are something that our mind finds interesting, then it is easier to concentrate. So your concentration levels can increase because not everybody can do meditation. Many people say when we try to meditate, our head starts spinning, we had a pain is there, and so many things are shared by people. So, so this is also a way to concentrate, to focus, and let our mind think. Many people have experienced this, that at the conscious level many things knowledge happens, but equally it happens at subconscious and unconscious level also. When we take a break and just someone is writing a song or composing a song or writing or drawing or painting or just walking, traveling, so whatever you like, I have just mentioned 2 3 points that will help you to connect to your research. And if you can write all those experiences in form of an autobiography, whether it gets published or not is secondary, but if you can write those things, it will be very helpful. Who knows in future if you can align with research? So there is one research methodology also which is called as autoethnography, where the researcher himself or herself is the subject of the research. So that autoethnography in simple terms is just autobiography plus research. So who knows that your autobiography becomes an research tomorrow and in form of a thesis or a research paper. So autoethnography has been published by by people, and it is a valid research. So whatever I was mentioning here, I didn't mention about autoethnography here deliberately. So because I just wanted you to go through that phase and realize that it is possible. There are my guides, Professor Gupta, Professor Babu, they used to discuss when we used to sit that why not the output can be in form of a poem, why not the research output can be in form of a song, why not it can be in form of a painting or a movie or anything, and people do it nowadays. So there is no dearth of coming up with such creativity and such innovation. Last point, of course, I discussed it a few at the start. When you will work on such topic, people will say, "Arey, this is biased research. This is not objective. This is too subjective. You are getting attached to your subject. You are becoming an emotional fool, whatever." So let people say it and accept it. Yes, I am getting attached to the phenomena that I am doing research, and at deeper emotional level, I am getting connected to it. However, you can also satisfy their query or concern with a very good answer. And it is not just to answer them, but to understand yourself also, that I am entering into this phenomena with an emotional level. I'll stay there to understand, to connect, and then I will come out of it. And then I will meet the academic requirements objectively in whatever form it is required. I will be able to detach also. So it's like entering a tunnel and knowing that we have entered a tunnel and we will come out of it at certain point of time. So it's a conscious decision to connect at the emotional level. It is not a default level, or it is not random by choice, but it is a conscious decision. So many ethnography for most of you might be knowing it in case you aren't aware. So ethnography is used to study a particular culture. So many ethnographers go to the tribal people, to the people in the hinterlands, and it has been found that many ethnographers go native. That is, they became part of the culture uh, which they were studying. So that is another thing. So, but if a ethnographer goes there, understands their culture, connects to the people, and then comes out also with the research. So you can also learn from that technique to get connected and then do. For example, I wrote a case which was published in Richard Ivy that was on Madhubani paintings in Bihar, Mithila region, the Madhubani region. So there was one organization, like a social enterprise, Mithila Smita, who was working on that. So during the case writing course I was doing at MDI, so many colleagues and the faculty person, they were saying you are getting too emotional into it. I went to Madhubani also and spent some time because I could get connected to the phenomena. And I spent some 5 6 months there and collected all the required data by connecting to the emotional, and gradually came out of it. But that was a better approach, I feel, and it gave me time to understand phenomena. I could uh, have the research life balance. I could travel there as a tourist, so it helps in that sense. Similarly, during the PhD research, one day a colleague of mine, a fellow researcher, she asked me, "Oh, you are not here for many days. Where were you?" Yeah, I said, I went for data collection." So she said, "Okay, great. Where?" I said, "I went to a Goshala, which is India's largest Goshala in Rajasthan." And she was like, "What is he talking about?" So, but for me, that was part of my research journey. That was part of my preparation. I wanted to understand few things because the Gurukul has deep connection with the Goshala, and I went there just to enjoy my research, and I brought it into the thesis discussion at a later stage. So I'll leave you with few points for consideration in case you are working in the IKS research, that unless and until we have a strong and deep emotional connection with the phenomena that we are researching. So in case of IKS, like it is our nation or a culture or our traditional knowledge, it is not just okay, but it is very essential. And there is one shlok in Sanskrit which talks about 5 inherent qualities of a person for being able to learn something. One is, of course, arogya. Arogya is a sound health. That person should be having a health, physically fit body and a healthy mind. So arogya. Second is buddhi. We need to have a wisdom and intellect to be able to do it. Vinay. Third is the vinay or the humility. The person should be humble to earn knowledge. Fourth is um, आरोग्य शास्त्र के प्रति राग, the attachment to the scriptures or the study that the person wants to do. So it is very essential to have that component. And one component is udyog, initiativeness, the able to take initiative. So 5 elements are arogya, buddhi, vinay, udyog, and shastra rag. So sound health, wisdom, humility, initiative taking, and deep emotional attachment with the body of knowledge that person or the phenomena that person wants to do research. So just think over it. Without emotional and deep connection to the phenomena, how the research is possible. And second thing is, as we have been talking for 2 days, why to make things complex? Now, research should not be a complex process which stifles our innovation and creativity through jargons and entry barriers. So people who are supervisors or senior faculty members, I would request that how we can simplify the process of research and uh, without compromising the rigor. So we will be discussing that in the next session, but at least we can give the ground for the young researchers to enjoy, to come, and that will bring the creativity and innovation. So I'll take a pause here and come back to things and discussions. I think there are a few points in the chat box.
Yes, sir. There are. Dr. Prem Singh, sir, has made a comment. IKS teachings can help to create a sense of community, source of inspiration, and ethical living. I think that's absolutely well put.
Yes.
And Jaideep ji has complimented you that you are encouraging us all to get into interdisciplinary research, combination of both the traditional as well as the modern methods. And we can take the questions from Sudhi Gupta ji. I
Okay.
think this is the question that concerns everyone who is starting out in Bharatiya research or Bharatiya Gyan Parampara.
Okay, very good question. I think Sudhiji, that how not to get overwhelmed by its vastness, very true. And second is a structured and simplified rule. Right. Okay. So one thing is, it is very natural to get overwhelmed. So if you are feeling that you are getting overwhelmed, it is very good, and it is very necessary part of entering into the domain of Bharati knowledge system, Indian knowledge system, whatever we want to call it. So it is very essential part, because this overwhelm, when you get overwhelmed, then you will realize, oh, this all is also available. So allow yourself to go through that phase, and in fact that is a welcome phase. I'll share you a quick example on this. When I was into the early part of my research, so I wrote an email to British Museum, the main museum in London, that how many books do you have of Sanskrit in your library, main British. So I was, first of all, I didn't expect I would get a reply. I got a reply, and I thought that they would mention a few numbers. So the librarian sent me, had shared with me four links to four PDF documents, each document of 200 pages, and which was just the catalog. So 800 pages catalog of the ancient scriptures and manuscript that they had with them. So, so it is very natural to get overwhelmed. However, once you allow yourself to slightly settle down, then as you mentioned about having a structured or a simplified roadmap, yes, it is there. I'll share a link of one video in which it's a short video on 15-20 minutes on how to start the indigenous research, and what are some steps that can be used. So it has very simple steps of first identifying the domain of knowledge in which you want to work. Take any one thing you want to work on it. Then reading the Western literature, also reading the our Bharati culture or the our scriptures also. Then some post-colonial component. Then how to synthesize, how to take the next step. So it's an 8 step are mentioned in that video. I will share that video, and you can go through it. It's a short video, and then we can take more questions tomorrow. So that is it.
Sure. Thank you, sir, for that very useful response. Just to quickly respond to Sudhiji's question, I think Sudhiji, what also helps is if you identify a particular domain, a particular area of interest, a particular niche in which you want to work, and if you because I totally understand that Bharatiya Gyan Parampara is so vast that one can get very confused, overwhelmed, and one may also get scared that, okay, how do I now go about it? So for example, I am interested in communication, so I'll start focusing on what are the aspects of communication that I can explore from a Bharatiya perspective. And then what has worked for me personally is I start looking up references and readings and scholars who have worked in the area, download their work, start reading, start connecting with them, and then understand the entire expanse of what kind of work has been done and how I can take that forward. So it's very important that aligned with your discipline, you also start discovering your area of interest, very specific area of interest as far as IKS is concerned, because it is so vast that you just can't be a master of everything. You have to specialize, or you have to go deeper into doing research into one small component. Okay, Vandana ji, you have raised her hand. Can you unmute yourself, Vandana ji?
Nidhi ji, can we take 2-3 questions which are there in the chat box? Then we
It was
can.
by mistake. It was by mistake.
Okay, okay, no problem, Vandana ji. Yes, sir. हम लेते हैं सलोनी जी का question.
So very right, Saloni ji, that emotional connection can lead to biased research if it is written in that same emotional set. That is, the output of the research is shared by living at that moment itself. So, as I mentioned, that while writing the thesis or research paper, at that time, one should allow himself or herself to get slightly out of that emotional state also and come to a more balanced emotional state, like which is called in Bhagavad Gita as Sthit Pragya or a balanced approach. So, of course, 100% it's not possible, but you can allow yourself to come out by looking at alternate perspectives also. So when we want to do this research, we don't deny the alternate, but we read it, we understand the alternate perspective and give a logical answer to support our emotions. So we should not discard our emotions. So today we talk about emotional intelligence, we talk about social intelligence. So there is one interesting book by Dr. Sandeep Atre, which is called as Understanding Emotions Logically. A wonderful book. If you will read initial 2-3 chapters of that book, a very short book, it will help you to answer this concern also. And I think Vijay Palji also has a similar question, where he said colonial lens may see the Indian knowledge systems as not worthy, while decolonial lens may exaggerate our findings. So Vijay Palji, very true. Here, there are two ways to be truthful to the real findings. One is at any point of time, you can take one lens. So you took a colonial lens and you saw all these are critics. So you compiled that these are the points which are against the Indian knowledge systems. You put them at one side. You then take the literature which is available on the decolonization and what points are shared on that side. And you see both things together on the same plate. And then you identify based on the research. So how the data was collected, what is the source of that person, what are the works of the person who has written those literature. So suppose someone has done a research on some against Indian knowledge system. So it's fine. Now you read his or her more works on that. If the video is available, if his interview is available, so that you can get the complete picture of the personality of that person. Is he or she open to look at from other things or not? So through that, you can do an analysis, how the data was collected, who collected that data, is it neutral, is it open, uh, are they ready to look from alternate perspective. So these are certain ways in which you can ensure that whatever you read is is from multiple perspectives, and then it can be done.
Great. Thank you for the responses, sir. Just to add on to this discussion, if you start examining the postmodern approach in the Western methodological framework, that includes critical theory, especially critical race theory, because race is something that bothers Western society a lot. The interpretivist model or the social constructionism, etc. I think all these approaches, they defy this aspect of simple objective truth that positivist school of thought encouraged. And of course, I'm not talking completely in terms of saying that the postmodern approach is flawless, But a lot of the work that is coming out from the Western world on race, gender, etc., it is coming out from a very postmodern kind of an approach. Also, if you look at Western scholars, they are writing a lot about how indigenous research needs to be done by indigenous people. So if I am working with a tribal community, I need to take their perspectives into account. They also need to do research about themselves so that somebody from outside doesn't come and extrapolates his or her worldview to their world. So a lot of that discussions are also going on. In fact, just today in the morning, I saw two videos explaining what is postmodernism and what are the flaws in the postmodern approach. So if anyone is interested, I can share it. But there is a lot of discussion going on in the African Asian context on indigenous research done by indigenous people. So Indians doing research on Indian knowledge system, and not Westerners doing research on Indian knowledge system. This is something that is going on in the academic world also. So there is one more question by Saloni ji.
Yes, the the approach that is taken for doing research has impact on the research outcome also. Although in the different approach which is taken, because suppose if a person has taken a positivist stance and works for doing some indigenous research, then what would be the outcome? That the truth, as Nidhi was discussing, that truth has to be objective only. And so there is no scope for subjectivity. So we will not be able to have a complete picture of the phenomena being researched. Suppose someone has taken the interpretivist stance. So they would look at things from the subjective angle, and we will miss out on the objective part of it. Suppose someone has taken the post-positivist stance. So then the subjective, objective truth, both will be lost. It will be mostly the
Sorry, I think somebody
postmodernist
got unmuted.
component of it. So, for example, you might have seen that many people say that in India we don't have a concept of time. We are very easy with the concept of time. But we have, so that is true because we have a circular concept of time, and therefore Kal Chakra is there. But we also have, we are very strict in certain times when Muhurt is there. So there is both component. There is relaxation with respect to time, that many lives come and go and it's circular in nature, but it is very strict and linear also at the same time. So this approach to integrate different things will really have an impact.
Yes, I think a lot of researchers these days opt for mixed methods research, combining positivist, post-positivist, combining statistical tools with tools which help them to understand the lived realities, the lived experiences of the group that they're studying, to kind of understand both sides of the world. So something like that could also be done in the context of Bharatiya knowledge system. Great. Any other question? We have time for just one more. Anybody with any question, reflection, observation? So I think since yesterday till today, we have covered quite a lot of ground on our IKS research journey. Yes, there is one question by Amit ji.
Yeah, Amit ji, I had shared a brief video on this. It's a 15-20 minutes video which helps in guiding you to start with a brief on IKS and developing any methodology or any phenomena that can be done. So in that video, you can get an answer.
Okay, so I think I will be sharing in the WhatsApp group the reading links and the video that sir was talking about. And for tomorrow's session, it will be nice if all of us can watch that video and come for the session. All right, sir, I think it will be useful for all of us.
Yes.
Great. So on that note, yes, Ashutosh ji.
मैं बस डॉक्टर साहब की प्रशंसा ही करना चाहता था कि ही इज रियली अ गुड स्पीकर एंड वेरी कॉन्फिडेंट एंड वेरी इजी गोइंग, और उनको थॉट की क्लैरिटी बड़ी है. आई रियली अप्रिशिएट यू सर. और मैं उम्मीद करता हूं कि आने वाले समय में जब भी आपका अगला कोई होगा सेशन, उसमें क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग के मॉडल के ऊपर आप थोड़ी बात करेंगे तो ये जितना भी क्वेश्चंस हैं ये सारे बड़े इजी हो जाएंगे. तो क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग का जो भारतीय मॉडल है उस पे किसी वक्त या लास्ट सेशन में आप बात कर सकते हैं तो अच्छा लगेगा. तो उससे इन सब के लिए बहुत आसानी हो जाएगी कि अप्रोच कैसे करना है और सोचना कैसे है, क्वेश्चन और इंक्वायरी में फ़र्क क्या है, और इस तरह के रिजल्ट्स जो लेने हैं वो भी सर्वे बेस्ड हो जाएंगे. तो वो मैं चाहूँगा कि अगर संभव हो तो लास्ट सेशन में या जब भी संभव हो आपके लिए. लेकिन आई रियली अप्रिशिएट यू.
धन्यवाद. थैंक यू सो मच.
थैंक यू आशुतोष सर. आपके भी इनपुट्स बहुत हमें मदद रूप हैं. We would definitely like to connect with you after the FDP. And so let's close today's session. I think we had a set of very interesting questions. So let's keep thinking about all of this. ये बहुत अच्छी बात है. आजकल अकेडमिया में लोगों के पास टाइम नहीं है, टीचर्स के पास टाइम नहीं होता है सोचने का, डिस्कस करने का, इंटरेक्शन करने का, because we are also busy in doing so many other things. So it is good that we have found this common platform where we can do this healthy exchange of ideas. So I would again remind all participants that we are looking forward to a reflection session on the last day, on the 6th day. उसके लिए अगर आप अपने नोट्स बना रहे हैं in story format, in any other creative format, because we would need some volunteers to steer the discussion that day. So मैं उसके लिए आपको रिमाइंड कर रही हूँ कि वो भी आप साथ साथ में कीजिए. So thank you so much, Ashutosh sir. Once again, a very invigorating session, lots to take away. And we look forward to the third session in this IKS research journey tomorrow along with you. Namaste. Dhanyavad, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just stop the recording. Sir, you can leave.